Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel many times before. I've had a lot of awesome beers from these guys over the years. They're a very prolific brewery who develop lots of different recipes and brew lots of different styles, and for that reason they are probably one of my favourite Swedish breweries. You usually get very solid beers from these guys and it's always interesting to keep an eye on what they're releasing. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I've never had from them before, so I have to say I'm very curious to see how it turns out, because it's also a style that you don't find very often actually. So yeah, for this review then we are going to head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get that Gothenburg catchphrase in when we're reviewing the Gothenburg beers because it is just channel tradition these days. And for this review we are going to return once again to Beerbliotek. So this particular beer is called Square Peg Round Hole. It's number 303 in their recipe numbering system that they have. It comes in at 7.5% ABV and it's a white IPA. So yeah, they talk on the website about this beer being a marriage between a Belgian wit on one hand and an American IPA on the other. So yeah, kind of a different approach to the white IPAs in fact, but they said this is only the second time they've brewed this style, and as I said, this is the very first time I'm having one of these beers from them. It could well be one of the first Swedish IPAs that I've had. I think I might have had one from like Coppersmith's brewery years ago actually, but yeah, one of very few white IPAs I've had from here in Sweden. But this beer was released as part of the Lokal Småskalig assortment through Systembolaget for May of 2021. So yeah, you can still pick this one up if you're interested. But yeah, very curious to see how it turns out. As I said, hopefully it's another interesting beer and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on it. So let's get cracking with this one then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Beerbliotek before, and I will no doubt add more to that list in the fairly near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, time to tell you a little bit about Beerbliotek once again then. So Beerbliotek, as I've mentioned to you before, are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg, up on the Swedish west coast, and the company was founded back in 2013 by a multinational group of friends. This is Adam Norman, who's from Australia, Richard Bull, who's a Kiwi, New Zealand, Anders Hedlund, who is Swedish, and then Dahl Denecker, who's from South Africa. So Adam and Richard ran Bar Doppio in Gothenburg, and then Daryl and Anders were regular customers, and they often used to just come to the bar, talk about different styles of beer, home brewing and stuff like this, and then one day the four of them decided that they were going to buy a brew kit together and start brewing their own beer, and it went very well for them. So the original brewery that these guys have is in the old Klippan Sugar building, which is a really nice old building very close to the old Carnegie brewery in Gothenburg. Quite a famous company that, and I say in every video that I do from Beerbliotek that I need to review the old Carnegie porter on the channel at some point. I still need to do that. But the original brew kit they had was from Brewfab in Scotland, and in the first year they brewed 38 different varieties of beer. But in the early days they were brewing very small batches, and they've kind of stuck to this idea of recipe development over time. So yeah, they're always releasing new recipes, but the batches that they're brewing have gotten much larger because, you know, Beerbliotek is quite a well-known and well sought after brewery, I guess we could say, here in Sweden these days. But yeah, there's constantly new beers being released from these guys, but some of the popular ones are re-released. A moment of clarity, or an instant of clarity I think it's called, which was the GBG Beer Week beer of 2017. A Passion for Gingers is one that you see quite often, and there are beers that return every year, like the Eternal Dankness double IPA, and also the Eternal Darkness Imperial Stout. You'll see those appear quite often as well, just because they are very popular, but they say that they don't have a fixed range of beers if you like, and they've got quite an impressive barrel aging program these days. But a little bit later on in 2015, they opened a second brewery in Kungston, which is where they now have their main tap room and run their main brewing operations, and the old brewery is being used for producing sour beers, but they're also doing a barrel aging project which is in the new brewery, like I mentioned. But the idea behind the name Beerbliotek is that they want to brew a wide variety of beers so that customers can always learn something about a new style, a new hop, a new yeast strain, a new malt, whatever. But yeah, they've basically taken the Latin word for library, Bibliotheca, and changed it to Beerbliotek, which I think is pretty clever. But the whole idea is that Beerbliotek is supposed to be a library for beer, so I think it works quite well. But yeah, like I say, lots of beers have been released from these guys over the years, and as of May 2021 they have released 285 different beers commercially, so that's quite a good return when you consider that this one is recipe number 303. Obviously some of them didn't work out, but I think that is a pretty damn good return actually. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Beerbliotek for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that Beerbliotek have done. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of the beer before we open it up. It looks very, very nice. As you can see, you always get some nice artwork from Beerbliotek, of course. And the other thing that I like about these guys is that they always put a little Swedish flag on them as well. Swedish product of Sweden. But it says on the side here, white IPA, our brewers really enjoy brewing new styles or playing with variations in style. In this case, we're paying homage to the Misfit White IPA, a square peg in a round hole. Everyone is welcome at beerbliotek.com. So yeah, Beerbliotek, square peg, round hole, number 303. 330ml can, this one. I think this beer cost me maybe about 35 Swedish kroner. So that translates to roughly €3.50, just a little bit more than £3 sterling. And yeah, probably about $4.25 or something like that American, maybe $4.50. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. My first white IPA in quite a while actually. So yeah, let's have a little look at this. I didn't realise with white IPAs that they often put coriander in them actually. So yeah, I didn't realise that was one of the kind of conditions of these, but it looks lovely actually. Because I often wondered what I often wondered what the difference between Hopfenweizen and a white IPA was, but obviously that's the difference then. It's meant to be more like a kind of Belgian wit IPA. So yeah, interesting for sure. You learn something every day with beer. There's always new things to learn, which is great. So as you can see, this beer has poured a lovely, very bright, rich kind of yellow colour. The head on this one is just a little bit more than half a finger, and I would say it's a perfect white head. That is going to fade away pretty soon to just be a nice kind of thin foamy layer though. But like I say, in terms of colour, this one is a very lovely rich yellow, and it does actually look quite similar to a New England IPA, which you'd kind of expect when it's a wheat-based beer. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and you can see the level of haze that this beer has. It's certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest of ones you're going to come across. Has a little bit more of a kind of natural haze vibe to it, I would say. But it does look very nice actually. So yeah, remember the colour of your beer depends on one, the type of malts that you use. That determines the magnitude of the colour, and then the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But adjuncts and barrel aging can also play an effect, but I don't think coriander is really going to change the colour of this one too much. So this one contains a bit of coriander and a bit of orange peel from what I gather. So yeah, should be. I don't think that would affect the colour overly much, to be honest with you. But the level of haze that you get in these sort of beers depends on filtration, and it also depends on the oat and the wheat content. So the wheat is what's given this beer a lot of its haze. But yeah, it certainly looks the part of a white IPA. Let's have a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, yeah, you can definitely smell the sort of Belgian wit type qualities out of this one for sure. So yeah, backbone of the beer, it's all about that kind of kind of soft, sort of fresh white bread, but you can smell the coriander spice really just blended in with that. That's the backbone of the beer. There are perhaps one or two little woody undertones to it for sure. Yeah, there are definitely one or two little kind of woody undertones to this beer, but otherwise, otherwise it is all about the bread, like a fresh white bread, and you can smell the kind of coriander spice mixed into it. There's definitely a wee touch of a kind of bread crusty element to this one, which I really like. So yeah, that has a really interesting edge to the beer for sure. So yeah, bread crust, white bread, a little bit of coriander in there, and a little bit of a kind of woodiness, if you like. So yeah. You can definitely smell the orange peel in there as well, absolutely. The orange peel gives you a little bit of juiciness on top of the bread, which is kind of interesting. Sort of makes me think of Blue Moon a little bit, like an American wheat. So yeah, that's quite an interesting one. I think the white IPA, of course, did originate in America. I think they just took the idea of the Blue Moon and put a bit more hop in it. Hopped it like an IPA. That's probably what they did. But yeah, you get a little bit of bitiness from the wheat at the very back of the nose, as I say. Otherwise, it's quite smooth and bready. The coriander is kind of sitting in that one. A few woody undertones, bit of bread crust. And maybe you get a little bit of a kind of biscuity note in the very middle of your nose as well. So that is your malty side of the beer. I can't remember if I said, but this beer has Citra and Cascade in it. I think I forgot to say that when I was opening it up, but yeah, it's Citra and Cascade that are in this one. But yeah, you definitely get a few elements of both of those too. But let's focus on that hoppy side of the aroma then. I think we've covered the malty side of the beer really as much as we need to. But yeah, in the back sort of corners of the nose almost, if you like, you do get a little bit. There is a wee touch of earthiness to this one, which builds a good bridge with the bitiness of the wheat. The green component for me has a lovely big kind of floral aromatic sort of thing, and you've also got a bit of you do have a nice kind of grassy zestiness to this beer, which to be fair I would say you would want from a kind of more wheat leaning beer like this. You do want to have a little bit of a kind of grassy zesty quality out of it. So yeah, it smells very, very good in that sense. But the fruity side of this beer is interesting as well, because like I say, you get a little bit of the orange peel as an adjunct in this one, so you can smell that all the way through the beer. You get that nice juicy and quite zesty orange peel, but you also get a little bit more of a pungent passion fruit from the Citra. You get a bit of that kind of typical oily mango that you normally get from it too. Remember, Citra's a big high alpha acid hop, about 14% normally, and it can give you it'll also give you a fair whack of like lemon and lime, and you get a little bit of that out of this beer too, which builds up with the orangey side of things. So yeah, you have a how would you say, a little bit of a you do have quite a bit of zesty character in this beer, I would say. So yeah, the how do you say, yeah, quite a lot of orangey zest from the adjunct, as I say, a little bit of a lemon limey character, and you've also got you also have a little bit of a you also have quite a bit of a you also have quite a bit of a kind of passion fruity pungency from it too, also some nice oily mango, but you can smell the influence of the Cascade in this one. Cascade always gives you a little bit of a slightly kind of figgy, soft red fruity character for me. That's what I always get from Cascade, and it can sometimes give you a wee bit of grapefruit too, but you can really smell the Cascade sort of forming the backbone of the beer, and it's also contributing a bit to the grassy side of things. I think the Cascade takes a little bit of time to come out of this beer actually and show itself, but it works. It works really well in the aroma. So yeah, the Citra comes out straight away with its more pungent notes, and it's from the passion fruit and from the kind of lemon limey qualities, but then the Cascade takes a wee bit more time to push its way out. So yeah, just be aware with that. Just be aware with that and see and see what you can pick up. But as I always say, take a bit of time to ponder over the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it's about time that we had a taste of this one. So let's go for it. So this one is the Square Peg Round Hole 7.5% white IPA, number 303 in the Beerbliotek numbering system from Beerbliotek in Gothenburg, up on the Swedish west coast. My first white IPA in quite some time. Contains Citra, Cascade, orange peel and coriander. Let's go for it, guys. Slanja, skull, cheers. Ooh. That's really nice, actually. It's a very smooth, strikes me as a very, very smooth beer, actually, on first thought. Yeah. So what I'm going to say straight away about this one is this is one of the more kind of subtle beers that you'll find from Beerbliotek. I've had quite a few things from them recently. I've had the Amber Ale, I've had the Bock, I've got a black IPA in the fridge that I need to try from them as well. But this one is definitely more, again, it's one of these ones that's got a little bit more kind of subtlety to its flavour, actually. But again, it's nicely done. You always get solid beers from Beerbliotek, and this is no exception to that rule. This one is pretty damn solid. And it does have a nice little bit of zestiness to it as well. So yeah, that's my first impression of this one. Very smooth and just a nice little bit of zestiness to it for sure. So yeah, let's break down this beer then and describe the flavour a little bit more in depth. So straight away with this one, you can feel that nice soft white bready character. That just blankets the middle of your palate there, goes right across the middle of your palate. So let's focus on that middle third of your tongue. So soft white bready note there. You can feel the kind of coriander just mixed into that white bready base, but if you go to either end of that middle third of your palate, you get a bit more of a kind of bread crusty element at either side of it. And that is quite interesting. But the further you go into the flavour of this beer, the more the white bread kind of thickens up a wee bit, and then in the very centre of your palate you do get a little touch. There is a tiny wee hint of a brown sugary note there, and that's the alcohol coming out of the beer. This beer is actually very good at covering up its alcohol, because it contains, I'm sure, let's just have a little look at it. This beer doesn't have any oats in it, definitely not. But yeah, it says, yeah, just wheat, malt, wheat, hops, coriander seeds, and orange peel. So yeah, no oats in this one at all. And you can kind of tell that from the sort of the level of thickness that you get out of this one, because the bread comes across as a little bit more. The bread comes across as a little bit more sort of crisp, in a sense, actually. So yeah, you can really tell that there's no oats in this beer. And the more that you drink of it, it just gets juicier and kind of zestier in a sense, which I can certainly appreciate. So yeah, it gets definitely gets a thumbs up from me. The malty side of this beer is quite straight shooting, but it really suits it, and I'm surprised at how well, as I say, it covers up its alcohol. But in the very dead centre of your palate, you will get just a tiny little hint of brown sugar. As you move out from that dead centre of your palate, you get a wee bit more of a kind of biscuity, McVitie's digestive biscuity note out of this one. So yeah. But yeah, I think that covers the middle third of your palate quite well. So on the how would you say, on the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you feel a little bit of a kind of bready build up there again, and a wee bit of grain kind of on top of it, just gives you a little touch of graininess. Then the back third of your palate goes to a kind of more bitey wheat, if you like. So you definitely get that in the back third of your palate. But then sitting on top of that more bitey wheat, you get some of the kind of taller, more airy, yeasty notes coming out of the beer. So yeah, you've got a little bit, the sort of height of the flavour at the back of the beer is kind of like this. Then it just gradually condenses down as you come forward. But then when you go into that middle third of your palate, it squashes down quite a wee bit. It squashes down quite a little bit, and just, you know, just goes together nice and crisply. So yeah, be aware of that. I think that's the malty backbone that you get to this beer is quite straight shooting, but it works really well, and you can kind of feel the further into the aftertaste you go, the effects of some of the orange peel that's in this one. It kind of sits at either end of the middle third of your palate there, so you do get a wee bit of that orangey peel, zesty kind of thing coming out of this beer, which is quite nice. But let's focus on the hoppy side of it then. So back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness there, and as you move further forward, the earthiness spreads forward a little bit, but then as you move further and further forward, it goes a little bit more, and you get a nice big kind of bright, slightly spicy floral aromaticity coming out of the beer. So yeah, I like how that goes together as well. There's a nice green component to this beer. Yeah, that certainly works well. But yeah, nice big kind of green component to this one. I wouldn't describe it as overly spicy. It's got a little touch of spice to it, but not a crazy amount. But yeah, a good little bit of kind of bright floral aromaticity. Then round the front curve of the palate, the beer is distinctly lighter and more grassy and a little touch zesty, if you like. So yeah, that covers the green component for me. It leans towards that floral side of things, but the grassy component does push its way out a little bit too, and it gives you a fair wee bit of zestiness. I think this beer overall is quite zesty in honesty. But yeah, let's focus on that front third of your palate then and the fruity side of things. So on the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of a kind of bready build up again, which I think works quite well. There's a little bit of a kind of bready, a sort of bread crusty element in there as well, but then the base of that front third of your palate is a smooth, wheaty white bread. Then on top of that you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So if you go to the back of that front third of your palate, you get a wee bit of the pungency, the wee bit of the pungent passion fruit that you'll always get from the Citra, and as you move further forward, that mellows out a little bit, it becomes more mango-like, and as you go into the front third of your palate, you can feel the cascade underneath, just giving you that slight, almost just figgy, slightly red fruity character in there. But the cascade will also have the effect of amplifying the sort of pungency of the more of the kind of stronger tropical fruits, the passion fruit, the grapefruit and things. It'll also have that effect on the Citra, but as you move further forward in this beer, to the very tip of your tongue, you start to get the kind of lemon limey elements as well from the Citra, so you can definitely pick that out of this beer. It does have quite a wee bit of a limey type quality to it, I would say. So yeah, pay attention to that with this beer. There's quite a few. It has a real zestiness to it, and remember as well, when you add fruit or peel into the beer as an adjunct, it always comes out around the kind of edge of the palate, and you definitely get a nice kind of orange peely zest going around those front edges of your palate there. So yeah, a lot of lemon limey character, a lot of big orange peel zest in this one, and then you've got the kind of tropical elements from the Citra just sitting in behind that. But yes, it's quite a straight shooting beer, this one, but I think it is well done. Is it, you know, the craziest and most exciting beer that you're going to find from Beerbliotek, the most striking beer? I don't think so. I think that's probably reserved to some of their kind of barrel-aged barley wines, their New England and West Coast IPAs, the Imperial Stouts and stuff like this. But is it a good example of the white IPA as a style? Absolutely. It shows you everything that this beer is about, but I like how they've taken the more Belgian wit approach to this one and put a wee bit of coriander and orange peel and things in it. So it's a little bit like a Blue Moon IPA, almost, I guess you could say. So thumbs up to them for doing something a little bit different. I didn't actually realise when I bought this beer, I thought it was going to be like a New England IPA. So yeah, it was quite a nice wee surprise, this one, when I saw that it was a white IPA. But yeah, that's the flavour profile of this one summarised. Let's round off the review with the mouthfeel then. Let's get that done. Somebody's come home, the dog's going crazy. But yeah, yeah, for this one then, mouthfeel wise, I'd say it's right in the middle of the spectrum. Mid-bodied, smooth carbonation, it gives you a little bit of that kind of cleanliness that you would always expect of a Nordic beer, you know, the clean sort of minerally water and stuff. You get a lot of that in this beer, and it works really, really nicely. So yeah, I certainly like that. about this beer for sure. It's got that cleanliness to it, and it's a really smooth beer, this one, and that's just the wheat influence, I would say. The wheat in this one has a bit of bitiness to it, but overall it is quite smooth. But yeah, the malty base in this beer, again, very, very smooth. There's a little bit of spiciness in it from the coriander, of course, and a wee touch of sweetness also, but yeah, quite a smooth malt base to this one. In terms of the hoppiness, I think we're talking a fairly standard 30-ish IBUs for this beer, which is common within the IPA category these days. And in terms of the fruitiness, as I say, it's quite a zesty leaning beer, this one. A lot of lemon, lime and orange peel and stuff like that, obviously, but you do get just a little hint of a kind of tropical juicy note underneath as well. But yeah, lovely beer, this one. As I say, not the craziest beer you're going to find from Beerbliotek, but another solid example of a different style, and a style that I've never tried from them before. And that was, that's one of the big points I like about Beerbliotek. They're not afraid to try different things. So I guess we can leave it at that for this review. Always nice to take more styles off the Beerbliotek box. I'd love to see these guys do like a triple and a quadruple. I don't think I've had any real Belgian type styles from these guys, come to think of it, and I don't think I've had a Scotch ale from them either, or a Doppelbock. So I would love to cross those off the list, actually. Hopefully we can do that at some point. I know there's a Scotch ale on the Barrel Age series, but I've never actually seen it anywhere to buy. So yeah, hopefully we see a few more Belgian styles and a Scotch ale from these guys, and one or two more German things would be good as well. But yeah, let's round off this review there then. So this one was the Square Peg Round Hole 7.5% white IPA from Beerbliotek in Gothenburg, Sweden. A lovely example of the style, and another solid beer from Beerbliotek. You can't ask for much more than that these days. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Beerbliotek, and we will no doubt return to these guys at some point in the near future. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.